Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is July 21st, and today we're taking a look at the visible satellite imagery again. You can see some high clouds moving over the region today, but you can see these low clouds that work their way in towards some of the Willamette Valley here and into the southern Puget Sound, in through the Strait of Juan de Fuca here, and along the Washington and Oregon coastline. It's kept it a little bit chillier this morning. We're going to be in some more onshore flow today, so we'll drop down those temperatures a bit from yesterday across some of the region here. You can see some nice, glorious sunshine. Of course, east portions of Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, on through Idaho and Montana, and we'll show why that's occurring here in a moment. And of course, we're going to talk about the upcoming heat wave on into next week. Confidence is increasing in that. That looks very likely. Things that are in question are the extent of the heat wave and just how hot we're going to get. So we'll continue to look at that here over the next few days. Taking a look here at the water vapor imagery here, you can see this kind of disturbance here that's going to be moving through, and this is just going to basically increase the onshore flow across the region. It's really going to be felt mainly western portions as this moves through. It's not as scary as it looks, folks. This is just going to be more of an onshore flow pattern here for the next few days. So the next couple days are going to be pretty seasonable across the area before we start to warm up a little bit Sunday, and then Monday we're really going to start to turn up the heat on through next week. If you look out over here, the Bering Sea, western Alaska here, this is the trough that's eventually going to amplify and get reinforced and start to build this huge ridge up over the Gulf of Alaska and Pacific Northwest here, and that's what's going to bring the heat wave. So this trough is bringing some pretty chilly temperatures up through portions of Alaska, and that's what's going to be the main cause of this ridge coming up here. I was looking at SeaTac yesterday, nice warm 84, almost hot. I start to consider this almost hot, even though we are in this time of year where the average high is 78 degrees. But you can see as we move on into the next couple of days, the average high is 79. Still, we didn't get anywhere near the 100 degrees we had in 1994, the first 100-degree reading ever recorded at SeaTac there. I can remember that one. I was actually out in Kent and was swimming in Lake Meridian that day. So checking this out, here's the NAM 3KM 2-meter temperature as we go through today. You can see we warm up towards 80 degrees for Seattle, maybe low 80s for Portland. Of course, much warmer eastern Washington here, and if you wanted to cool down, get out to the coastline, Strait of Juan de Fuca, immediate shoreline out there, Whidbey Island, for example. And so the next couple days are going to be fairly chilly like this. And you can see this is the HRRR 850 millibar winds. You're going to see this onshore component here. You can almost see the little buckle here and a little spin in the atmosphere, that little feature we saw in the water vapor loop here. It's going to continue our onshore flow here for the next couple of days before we start to relax things and start to build the ridge over the area. And we'll take a look at the heat wave intricacies here in a moment. So this is looking at the European ensemble control run here. So what we're looking at here is at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. And you can kind of see that troughing here that's going to amplify and get reinforced and really start to build this ridge up over the Gulf of Alaska here and the west coast of BC. And this is really going to start to build our heat wave in here. Here we're looking at Monday afternoon. The ridge is firmly entrenched over BC here, and this is going to help really build the heat wave across the region here. This is the 06Z. It goes out 144 hours. But you can plainly see the ridge there. All models are in good agreement here with that ridge placement. Here's looking at mean sea level pressure. This is the anomaly here. And again, what we're looking at here is that thermal trough building, and you can plainly see it building up the coastline here. As we go through Sunday, it's up through California into Oregon here. And then as we go into Monday, it's all the way up into western British Columbia here as we go through into early and mid next week. Here you can see this big ridge with some high pressure moving down the backside of British Columbia, the higher terrain here, and this is going to bring a little bit of offshore flow here, just enough to bring this thermal trough up here, even though we're probably still going to have a little bit of an onshore component here as we warm up during these afternoon hours across the region. We'll take a look at some of the high temperatures we can expect here in a moment. Here's the European 850 millibars. Here's winds and temperature anomaly here. This is a good indicator of how warm we tend to get across Pacific Northwest. So this is something we look at for heat waves. You can see by Sunday afternoon, the temperatures are already starting to warm here as this ridge is building. You can see that really chilly air up over the Bering Sea here west of Alaska, helping to amplify this ridge and really drive these warm temperatures. You can see the offshore flow here at 5,000 feet kind of coming across the region here. And again, this goes out to 144 hours. We'll look a little bit further out here when we get to the GFS here in a moment. But you can see really warm air aloft. That's kind of a classic signature of our heat waves here in the Pacific Northwest. Here's the 06Z GFS, the mean ensemble. and this is a temperature anomaly, 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. It's going to show something similar here. You can see that troughing over the western Alaska here, and then you can kind of see it get reinforced and really build this ridge across the Gulf of Alaska into western BC. And you can see these warm temperatures really coming up here for the Pacific Northwest, highlighting British Columbia down through Washington, Oregon, all the way down into Northern California here. And you can see these kind of hang out for a while here. So there's some we're looking to see how long this might last. It could be in kind of an extended heat period here. It depends. Some of the models the last couple of days have been showing kind of a more of a marine push here at times as we go into later next week. But we'll continue to watch that and take this day at a time. We still have a couple days to go before this heat wave gets here. Checking this out, this is the GFS ensemble mean. This is 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. We're looking at general trough and ridge position here to see how this ridge builds. You can see that upper level low here across western Alaska. You can see it kind of get reinforced there and really start to amplify this ridge over the Gulf of Alaska here. And you can see that ridge plain as day here as we go on in through mid next week. Kind of hangs out here, but then as you get in off towards the extended in an ensemble run here, these are going to smooth out a bit. So this is just kind of showing us that yes, we have good agreement for the heat wave. We don't know how long it's going to last exactly. How will it come to an end? It's going to come to an end at some point from a marine push, but sometimes these can drag on for a while. Especially this time of the year here, late July is the warmest time of the year here for the Pacific Northwest. And here's the GFS 06Z. Actually, let's bump this up to, let's look at this one first. Here's the 6-hour, 2-meter temperature maximum here. This is looking at today. This is definitely going to be warm for today. We're probably just looking at maybe some low 80s around the Puget Sound and probably low 80s, maybe mid 80s around the Portland area here. You can see eastern Washington is going to warm up towards 100 degrees in some areas. As we get towards Friday, you can see we cool down a bit. We're going to be on that onshore flow. So enjoy these seasonable days coming up here if you're not looking forward to this heat wave next week, because once we start getting into Sunday here, you can see we start warming up here across the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound. And of course, eastern Washington will continue to cook here. Here's Monday. You can see some of these temperatures getting up towards 90 degrees for Portland, for example. As we go on in through Tuesday, you can see some 90s getting into the Puget Sound, maybe even some mid 90s, probably mid 90s for the Willamette Valley are possible. Of course, cooler along the coastline here for this first portion of the heat wave. And you can see, of course, eastern Washington, Oregon continuing to bake. This would be for Wednesday. You can see some mid 90s potentially for Seattle as we're getting into the main teeth of this heat wave here through mid next week. And look at some of these temperatures for the Columbia Basin. This is for the Tri-Cities area, possibly up, towards 110 degrees maybe. We'll check the European on that too as we come up here closer to the event. But you can see some of these temperatures are flirting with 100 degrees maybe in Portland, but most likely this will probably end up being mid and upper 90s for portions of the Willamette Valley here as we go through later next week. But you can see we warm up quite nicely even through the Puget Sound, mainly Seattle southward. You can see some pretty good temperatures, Tacoma, Olympia, and look at some of these temperatures for eastern Washington through later next week as well. So get ready for some prolonged heat for eastern Washington and Oregon for this period, and potential prolonged heat for the Puget Sound and Willamette Valley. As you can see, even going into the long range here as we start on into next weekend, you can still see some gaudy temperatures up here for western portions. So that's what we'll be watching here day by day. And the GFS has kind of been, it's showing this might be a little bit on the low side for the Portland area here. I think they might have a couple more days here into the mid 90s. Some of the ensembles show that, and you can see the control run shows that one day up towards 100. But we'll continue to monitor this. I think that Portland's probably in store for several mid 90 degree days here as we go through next week. This is for Seattle, Tacoma. Check out this 06Z run here. Look at the control. Had 3 days near 100 degrees for Seattle. That's no doubt being overdone some, but once you start getting above 90 for Seattle, you start causing problems for people. These homes out here are designed to trap heat. And so when you get these big heat waves, a lot of people don't have air conditioning up here. So try to remember that there, because our homes are designed for the 9 months out of the year where we're dealing with temperatures that can flirt in the 40s, mainly 40s and 50s. And, we're trying to stay warm most of the year. Then when you get these heat waves, it really heats things up and cause some problems. So you can see the ensemble members here, the boxes, the 90th percentile and the 10th percentile here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 days here, and maybe, and then maybe we get a cool down. So 4 days above 90 here is a serious deal here in the Puget Sound. Now, this was released today, seasonal temperature outlook. I want to show you this real quick. August, September, October. Actually looking at potential for some above average temperatures on a whole for that 3-month period. So summer is not over yet. Seasonal precipitation showing average. You can see the below here across much of the Intermountain West, above average on the East Coast. And this is the 6 to 10 days. So this is kind of highlighting our heat wave coming up here. You can see the bullseye across the Columbia Basin and through eastern Oregon and the entire Pacific Northwest, that above average chance for warmer than normal temperatures. And you can see that trough affecting Alaska that's building our ridge here, kind of showing those below average temperatures up there. You can see here 6 to 10 day below average precipitation expected. We barely get any precipitation this time of year, so for a lot of places this is going to be 0 here for the 6 to 10 day period for the Pacific Northwest. Here's 3 to 4 weeks. This goes out through August 12th. Here you can see the signal out here, strongest out here for eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, but it does include all the Pacific Northwest here for probability of above normal temperatures. 3 to 4 weeks out, this goes through August 12th. Look at this signal. I mean, we hardly get any precipitation at all this time of year. So this is probably going to be just around 0 here, especially look at that western Washington, portions of Oregon. This is the risk of hazardous temperature. So you can see actually they've extended this experimental one out to the coastline here as we go on through later July in through early August. We'll continue to watch this heat wave here and see how that unfolds. But you can see the excessive heat moderate line has been pushed out to extend into include western Washington, western Oregon here. And look at this excessive heat high area for eastern Washington, Oregon, portions of Idaho. So get ready for the heat, folks. It is coming, especially east of the Cascades. Just a downright vicious heat wave is on our doorstep for next week. So yeah, enjoy these seasonable days coming up here through Saturday. So today, Friday, Saturday, Sunday will start to warm up a bit, not too bad. But then Monday on, we start to really turn up the heat, and that can start to extend into the Puget Sound. It looks like the initial part of this heat wave, the coast will remain, chillier, of course, which is per usual. But then we might get some heat out to the coastline, as you saw there, maybe later into July into early August. Nothing firm yet. So we'll just continue to watch that. But yeah, enjoy these low clouds. Look at this all the way through the Willamette Valley in some areas. Looks like Portland's starting to break out now. I can see the sun breaking out here too in Normandy Park. So it looks like these clouds are going to be on the way into the afternoon, which is usual. And so yeah, I'll keep watching today. I'll probably put out a post or two on Twitter. It looks like, some of the models are still a little bit in flux on what we're going to be dealing with next week. Will there be a marine push by the end of next week? I would not doubt that, but I've also seen it before that we've extended these heat waves for, some of the summers past, we've been above 85 degrees, for example, for a couple weeks at a time. So it's not out of the question that we could see an extended heat wave out of this pattern here. And probably 2 to 4 days of 90 plus degree temperatures for Seattle are probably in store. Probably a little bit more for Portland, even though some of the GFS ensembles are kind of waffling on just what kind of temperatures to expect there. So anyway, we'll do this again tomorrow. Watch my Twitter feed for updates today. And if you haven't already, click like, click subscribe, helping the channel out. Thankful for everybody here. You can see the list of all the supporting members here. So thanks everybody who make this channel possible. And we'll talk about this again tomorrow. And we'll look a little bit more detail at what the European show is going to show in the extended here as well, and see if we can get some model agreement on just how long this heat wave is going to last. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow.